Hi, and welcome back. In lesson 2, I'm going to show you how to create the base shape for your sandal. We will use the template to guide us. Once we have finished the base shapes, we will save them as symbols for later use when needed. For example, if you're doing a range of sandals based on the same silhouette, we're doing a sandal based on a summer boot silhouette with a 4-inch heel. So, what you see in front of you is the file we set up at the end of lesson 1. You will have your template on a locked layer, your scanned and placed sketch on the next layer, this is locked 2, your drawing layer, this is not locked. As we are doing the side view and the top view only, I will edit the template layer to reflect this. I open the Layers panel. Can you see when I click onto the visibility symbol, the eye, it toggles between visible and not visible. I will unlock this layer. Now I can delete the back and 3/4 views, and I'll move the top view over to the first page, open my Layers panel and lock this layer again. Do you see how nothing will move anymore because I've locked the layer? When I try to use my pen tool, you can see that there is a pencil with an unavailable icon next to it, the circle with a slash through it. This means I can't draw right now. The reason being is that this layer is locked. I need to go back to the Layers panel and select the drawing layer. Now you can see my pen symbol is visible. Before we start drawing the summer boot template, I'd like to review the pen tool options and their functions. First, I'll change the fill to a color using the function in the control panel. You'll see before I even place one anchor point down, the pen tool symbol has a star next to it. This denotes that you will start drawing a fresh path or line and then object. Once I place my first point down, this star symbol disappears. As I move away, you will see a preview or rubber banding of the line I'm about to draw. When I just click once and release without dragging the pen tool to form handles, it will draw a straight line. Once I move away again, you will see the next line preview, and the anchor point is a sharp corner. To close the shape, I just click back and release immediately onto the first anchor point. You will see a closed circle next to the pen tool symbol. This denotes you have completely closed the shape. In the next shape, I will click and release to put my first anchor point down, and then with the next anchor point, I will click once. Here I will not release the mouse. I will drag the mouse. Can you see the handles forming either side of the anchor point? You will also see the preview of the line I'm about to create. Once I release the mouse, the line is drawn. And when I move my cursor back to that first anchor point, once again the preview will appear. The line shape is being controlled by the handle I dragged from the anchor point. It is as important to be aware of the line you have just drawn as it is to be aware of the line you're about to draw. I'll just close this shape. I'll draw another shape with a curve and demonstrate how to delete a handle while drawing. Once I click and drag my handles out from the anchor point and then release, all I need to do is click back into the same anchor point again to delete the handle on the side that my line will continue from. Did you see the upside down V next to the pen tool? It is the same symbol as the anchor point tool. As you can see, I have drawn 3 closed shapes. The pen tool does not need to be deselected if we close each shape. If you have an open shape or you have just drawn a line, the pen tool will have to be deselected by going to one of the selection tools, keyboard shortcut V for the black arrow, or A for the white arrow, the direct selection. To start drawing again from an open anchor point, select the pen tool and rest your cursor on the anchor point, and a / will appear next to the pen tool symbol. If you click now, the line is connected. Let's see what symbols appear when we try to connect 2 separate lines. You can see when I rest my cursor on the top line, the / appears. And when I move my cursor to the other line and rest on the open anchor point, can you see that instead of a circle, there is a rectangle with a horizontal line through it? This means it is joining these two lines, but this shape is still open. Have a look at the difference when I join the two lines on the other side to create the closed shape. Let's have a look at what the other three tools do. Add anchor point tool. This simply adds an anchor point when you rest your cursor on a path and click. You can use the direct selection tool to move this. Delete anchor point tool. This will delete the anchor point when you rest your cursor on an anchor point and click. Now for the anchor point tool. It used to be named the Convert Anchor Point tool. I find this a more descriptive name for what this tool does. This tool can be used to convert an anchor point to a curve, or you can simply place a cursor in the middle of a line and curve it. You'll see it create handles from the anchor points either side of it. Let me just highlight the top anchor point of this shape with the direct selection tool. Once I do this, the handles are revealed, and I can manipulate the shape to a certain extent with this tool. You will notice I can only move the handles in a seesaw motion, or I can lengthen or shorten them. Now, when I select my anchor point tool and click onto the end of the handle, I can actually make the two handles move independently, effectively creating a point at the anchor point, not a smooth curve. I can also delete a handle by clicking onto the end of the handle, and I can reshape a point by clicking onto the anchor point and dragging the mouse. So, that's a quick overview of the pen tool functions. Let's get on with this shoe. Personally, I find it works well to visualize making a paper shoe pattern when I'm drawing in Illustrator. Starting with the drawing of the base shape, I'm going to stay very close to the template shape. This stage would be equivalent to taping up your last. The first thing I'll do is remove the fill and change my stroke to red. You can toggle between fill and stroke on the Tools panel by pressing the X key, and you can use the / to remove the color from the option on top. Mine is fill now. You can change the stroke color by going to the stroke swatch options in the control panel at the top of the screen. Now you can start drawing. I'll start at the heel and draw the base of the last first. Just one line, not a shape yet. It is best to have as few anchor points as possible when drawing. This makes editing more efficient and file sizes smaller. I will use 4 anchor points to draw this line. All anchor points are smooth, so a handle either side of the anchor point. Take note of how I drag the handles close to the shape I am copying. To deselect the pen tool, go back to your selection tool, the black arrow. Now I will make a copy of this line. I am in the habit of using my keyboard arrow keys and keyboard increments to move objects in Illustrator. This ensures that I will always move objects back in place without having to fiddle around too much. It's all about efficiency. To do this, I use the keyboard shortcut to open Preferences, Command K or Control K on Windows OS, and I'll change my increments to 20 millimeters and OK. I'll make a copy of this line and move it down at the same time. Select the line, hold down the Alt key, and press your down arrow once only, because the Alt key is copying. Let go of the Alt key and then move the line down a couple more times by tapping on the down arrow. I will use this line as a base for the outer sole and make another copy of it for the upper of the sandal. I'll make the keyboard increment 1 millimeter again. I'll copy the line by holding down the Alt key and tapping the down arrow once. Did you see the double arrow? Now I'll nudge it into place by moving it down and then left with the keyboard direction arrows. From here, I will cut this line a little for the peep toe. I'll use the scissor tool, keyboard shortcut C, located under the eraser tool. I rest the cursor on the line and click in the appropriate spot. This will cut the line. You can delete the end of the line. If the wrong side of the line is selected, deselect and select the correct side, and delete. I can now start to draw the shape of my upper from here. Once you're using the pen tool, it is quicker not to go in and out, but just to draw the whole shape at once. While using the pen tool, you can always use the space bar to move around the work area, and you can use Command or Control Z to go back steps to redo parts of the line. Now that I've closed the shape, I'll check that I'm happy with it. I think the top line is not high enough. As you can see on the hand drawing, it is about 1 centimeter higher. I'll use my direct selection tool to select the top 2 anchor points and move them up. I'll also tweak my shape a little. Sometimes it's easier to select the anchor point with the direct selection tool and then use your arrow keys to nudge the drawing into shape. Now I will use my anchor point tool to adjust the top line, and I'll refine the shape with the direct selection. One more thing. At the heel I'd like to round this corner off a little. Do you see when I select the anchor point in the corner with the direct selection tool, a white circle appears in the juncture of that corner? This is the corner widget. If I rest my mouse on that widget and just pull it back a little bit, you'll see it curves the corner. I'm ready to draw the outer sole now. I'll leave this original line for the inner sole, and I'll copy this line to create my outer sole. Pressing the Alt key and my down arrow, I copy the line and then I nudge it into place with the direction arrows to line it up with the upper. I'll join these 2 lines now. Remember the pen tool, / to join onto a line, and then I click onto the next line and drag a little bit of a curve into the shape. You would have seen the rectangle with the horizontal line running through it again, denoting that the shape is still open. Let's close it and curve the corner with the corner widget on the other side. Now we're ready to draw the inner sole. I'll select my first line I copied, change it to blue to differentiate it, and move it back up. Before I do this, I need to take my keyboard increments back to 20 millimeters. Command or Control K and 20 millimeters OK. Now I can move that back up. I'll zoom in so that we can see that the inner sole line is sitting on top of the outer sole lines. This is what you want. If it is behind, all you will need to do is select the outer sole, go to Object in the drop-down menu, Arrange and Send to Back. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut Shift Command left square bracket on the Mac OS and Shift Control left square bracket on Windows OS. Now you can draw the inner sole with the pen tool. Can you see how the line distorts when I try to add some shaping here? Don't worry about that, we can come back to that and shape it at the end. I'll draw the whole sole first, and at the end use the anchor point tool to reshape the front of the inner sole. Once this is done, we can select all 3 closed shapes and change them all to an orange fill and black stroke. I'll group the inner and outer soles, Command or Control G, or right-click your mouse for some quick menu items. And then we send all of this to the back. Drop-down menu Object, Arrange, or right-click Arrange, or Shift Command left bracket, Shift Control left bracket. So basically what I'm doing is just giving you the quick ways to move through things. There are so many different ways and you should use the one that suits you. So we can get onto the top view now, and for the top view I will first draw the full shape including the top line. The top line will be smaller because this is higher up the ankle than the template. I will also include the center line as this is a good guide when I am drawing my style lines. Because this is a sandal, you will also see most of the inner sole from the top. In fact, this will help enormously when you draw the style lines. I'll first change the stroke to red and remove the fill. I'll follow the template and complete the shape and then adjust the shape. Don't worry if you don't get it right immediately, because you can adjust once you've finished. You can also undo moves by using the keyboard shortcut Command or Control Z. To draw the top line, I will use my ellipse tool. This is found under the rectangle tool in the Tools panel. Remember the little black triangle in the corner of a tool to reveal the hidden options? Alternatively, the keyboard shortcut for an ellipse is lowercase l. I will adjust the shape of the ellipse with the anchor point tool. I'll click onto this anchor point and drag the handles out, holding down the Shift key at the same time to drag the handles in a vertical line. I'll do this on both sides. I'll now draw the center line, and to do this I'll click with the mouse on the one side, hold Shift and click with the mouse on the other side. Once again, this helps me draw a perfectly straight horizontal line. This drawing is ready to be filled. I'll select the ellipse and base and use the eyedropper tool to copy the properties of the side view, orange fill and black stroke. I'll make the middle line a black stroke and dash it. Open the stroke panel options and check the dashed line option. Alternately, you can eyedrop the dashed line on the template to copy the properties of that line. Next, I need to create the inner sole. Move the top line, the ellipse and center line out of the way. I'll quickly change my keyboard increments here. I'm making a copy of the main shape and placing it on top of this shape. I've used the shortcut Command C and Command F, copy and place in front. Alternatively, you can go to the drop-down menu, Edit, Copy, and Edit, Paste in front. I'll change this to a contrast color and reshape it. Now before I go on, I'll align the inner sole to the upper. I'll select both shapes and then click again onto the orange piece to highlight it and vertical align center. You can find this option in your control panel at the top of the workspace or in the Align panel you added to your panels. For a fuller explanation of the control panel, you can click on the link in the transcription to go to the Adobe website. To shape the inner sole, I'll first shape the inside foot, as this will give me a reference point. From here, I'll adjust the outside foot. Now, I will send this shape to the back so I can cut out the peep toe. Have a look at the side view for a reference. I'll use the Line Segment tool and draw this line. I will shape it with the Anchor Point tool. From here, I'm going to divide the shape. We can use a couple of options to do this. One is the Shape Builder tool, and the other is the Divide option in the Pathfinder panel. I prefer the Shape Builder tool as this is more efficient for me. I am selecting the line that I have just drawn and the orange shape. To select each shape, I will need to click on one, hold the Shift key down and click on the other. I do not marquee over everything, as I would pick up the inner sole if I did that. I don't want to do that. I'll select the Shape Builder and rest my cursor on the toe area of the shoe. Do you see the shading? If I hold the Alt key down, you'll notice the subtraction symbol next to the Shape Builder symbol. When I click the mouse, it deletes this area. Resting the cursor on the overhanging lines and pressing Alt, the lines are highlighted red. When I click on them, this deletes them. There may still be another line across the shoe, so I'll just move the main shoe back by selecting it and using my arrows to move it away. I select the line and delete it. So now we have a full inner sole at the bottom and the upper sitting on top of it. I'll just move the center line and top line back. Don't forget to change the keyboard increments back to 20 millimeters. The last thing I'll do is change the color of the inner sole on the side view. And now I'm ready to save these as symbols. I find that this is an excellent way to start collecting assets to make future styling and variations a lot more efficient. Later I will add the heel and some trims. When I open the symbol panel, I will delete the default symbols first by selecting them all and deleting them. I usually select the first symbol, hold the Shift key down and then select the last symbol to pick them all up. Once this is done, I select my side view and drag it towards the symbol icon. The panel will open up and you can see a green addition symbol. This means I'm adding my new symbol. A dialog box will appear where I can name the symbol and choose the options. I leave these as they have no impact on how we will use the symbols. I'll do the same with the side view. To save a symbol library to be able to easily access it from another file, all you will need to do is go to the Symbol Panel drop-down menu. Go to Save Symbol Library. This will open your browser. It will probably default to the following file path, but if it doesn't, follow these instructions. Now let's quickly open a new file and check this. I'll go to my Symbol Panel, the drop-down menu and Open Symbol Library, then User Defined and Summer 18. Now that the basic shapes are done and you have familiarized yourself with the pen tool and its options, have a bit more of a practice to become more at ease with this tool. Remember, the fewer anchor points you use, the better. Always keep curves smooth with handles on each side, unless of course there's a sharp turn. When you're ready, move on to Module 2 and begin the exciting part of this course. I'll see you there. Once again, please ask questions, write comments, or discuss issues in the space below.